Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This one we're going over some of my favorite plays for the 9-game NBA slate for tonight on Draftkings. Before we continue though, if you leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPinell16. And if you're interested in the spreadsheets about every single night in my cheat sheet and my Slack chat, links available in the description below for my Patreon. And I think that's enough plugging. I say we get right into the video. So, just from a slate approach tonight, it's looking like another stars and scrubs approach for the slate. It's worked the past 4 nights with DraftKings soft pricing at the moment, and like I said yesterday, we got to take advantage of this while we can because the pricing will get a little bit tougher as we go into the season. But as of right now, it's really soft, so we're just gonna take advantage of this, and probably not to the extent of last night with Karl-Anthony Towns, Luka, and Jokic because there's really not that many spend ups on this slate. But we're still going to take the same kind of approach to it. We want some high-end guys, and I think there's plenty of 3K value guys that we can use and some low 4K guys. So same approach as last night pretty much, and I hope you guys had a very good night last night. It went very well. Anthony Towns absolutely smashed. Jokic smashed, and then Luka smashed as well. You had 2 triple-doubles there. Karl-Anthony Towns could have had a triple-double, but he ended up getting pulled a little bit early in the 4th, and he actually started off really slow, and then he went absolutely nuclear. I think he had like 6 points in the first quarter at one point, and it was like, pretty far into the first quarter. I was like, oh my gosh. And then he went nuclear. Then he had, 82 fantasy points. That was absolutely insane. He was dominant again for the second game in a row. Didn't think he could replicate a 73 outing. I guess he didn't replicate it. He went past it and got into the 80s. That's just insane. Lucas started out a little slow too, and then he ended up getting, 61 fantasy points. And then Jokic, he had overtime too, but he was fine too. He had a triple-double, got over 60 points. So hope you guys had a great night. As long as you had the right value plays, you should have done pretty well. I know Frank Kaminsky did good. Marvin Williams, though, he was the real killer. I know a lot of people played him at small forward. I actually liked him at small forward because it was a weak position unless you played LeBron. He ended up getting 0.25 points in 12 minutes. That is horrendous, but hopefully you avoided that landmine. And anyway, let's get into this slate. So I'm spending up for James Harden today. He's at 10,200, and pretty much the thing is, when he's on the slate, it's usually in your best interest to plug him in your lineups. It's really scary to fade the guy, and if there was any concerns if he and Westbrook could coexist on the court at the same time, they put that theory to rest as they both had tremendous fantasy outings. His usage rate was down to 20% compared to last season's 41%, but it was only one game, so we really can't use one game sample sizes, and the same can be said for his points per minute. That was at 1.4 last game out, compared to his 1.6 last season. I mean, we're talking about really small sample sizes, so we really can't base that off of really much anything. And Harden's usage rate was in the mid to upper 30s in the preseason, so I'm not really concerned about that there. And as for the matchup and the game, I love it. The Rockets have an insane 123-point implied team total. That's obviously the highest on the slate by far. This is going to be a very high-paced game versus New Orleans, and it's the highest projected pace game of the slate, which obviously we love because that just means more possessions, which means more fantasy points for James Harden, more than likely. The matchup is also awesome versus New Orleans, they're getting absolutely murdered by opposing guards this season. Lowry had 40 points versus them. Van Vliet had over 50. Luka had 61, and even Brunson had 28 last night. So yeah, I think Harden's going to eat here. They're just getting absolutely manhandled by guards, and if you give him around 35-ish minutes and give him about 1.5 points per minute and factor in pace plus the matchup, he should be sitting in the 55 to 65 point range for projections tomorrow, and it's a priority play for me. So James Harden, get him in. I like him a lot, even though he's pretty expensive, but he's going to be fine. And then the next guy I want to plug in my lineups is his teammate Russell Westbrook at 9,100, and I just think he's a little bit mispriced here. So, and a lot of what I just said can be said again for Westbrook about the matchup. They both play the guard spot, so it's obviously a great matchup. It's a pace-up spot, high Vegas total, everything to like there. And he actually had the better game of the two on Thursday in 4 less minutes than Harden. He put up 62 fantasy points with a slightly higher usage rate at 29% compared to Harden's 28%. And we all know the upside Westbrook has on a nightly basis, even with sharing the load with Harden. I really just don't understand his price here, but we know who he is. We know what he does. He's a big point per minute guy. He just absolutely dominates in all categories: assists, points, rebounds. He can do it all. He's a triple-double threat every single night. Last season, he averaged 1.5 points per minute, and last game, he was all the way up to 1.9. Obviously, it's not going to stay up there because that's outlandish, but still, it was nice to see him show that upside in his first game with Harden, and if we just give him his 1.5 points per minute that he had last year and give him about a 33 to 34 minute projection, plus the awesome matchup and pace that we already talked about. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get to at least 50 fantasy points and flirt with 60. And I love jamming in Harden and Westbrook tonight. It's a priority for me. 9,100, I will take it. So we're going to plug in Russell Westbrook there at the point guard spot. So we got our 2 guards locked up, and I love them a lot. And then I'm looking at my center position, and we can either spend up for Drummond at 9,500. Embiid's there too. Siakam's obviously great. Kevin Love, Vucevic, Gobert, Markkanen. But I like Randall at 8K. I really like this spot for him and the price. So, like I said, we can either spend up for Drummond at 9,500, or I think it's pretty much between Randall or Drummond, and I'm gonna side with Randall here. I know Drummond's been awesome, especially with Blake Griffin being out, but it is a tougher matchup versus Joel Embiid. So I think we can save some salary here with Julius Randle, who has similar upside and gets a really nice matchup versus the Celtics front court that doesn't have Al Horford anymore and will be manned by Thies and Williams. So this is a very beatable matchup for him. And Randle had 55 fantasy points his first game, and last season he was around 1.2 points per minute. So if you give him about 33 to 35 minutes in this matchup, and I think he's an excellent play at a fair price and a plus matchup, I think he can get over 50 fantasy points again. Last night he had 32 fantasy points, but I think he's going to be fine. It's a pretty good matchup. So I do like Julius Randle. I think he should smash at that price tag at 8K. If you want to play Andre Drummond instead, I think that's fine, or if you want to play someone else. But I do like Julius Randle. I think he should be fine at this price tag. And he's got a lot of upside as well. So now that we've broke the bank here, we only have 40 left remaining in our lineup. So we're going to have to find some value, guys. And the first guy I'm looking at is Trey Lyles at, I believe, 3,700. Yeah, 3,700 going up against Washington. So Spurs have one of the higher totals on the slate, and Washington plays a little bit fast, so I always like pace-up situations. This is also a really nice matchup versus the Wizards front court, who gives up a good amount of points to big men. And as for Lyles, he's a little around a point per minute kind of guy, and I have him for just north of 20 minutes, I believe at like 21 to 23, 24 minutes, something around that. So if you just give him his, average points per minute, and if you factor in the matchup, I think he gets you about 20 to 23 fantasy points, and that would easily be 6x value. So Trey Lyles, he makes a lot of sense to me, and I like plugging him in, and it's going to free up some salary spots for us. And then I have one more guy for you guys, and there's other value guys, but I don't want to just go on and on. I want to try to give you guys some of my favorite picks, and and other things can open throughout the day based off of injuries or news or whatever. So things could change. But as of right now, I am liking me some Bonga. And he was actually 2% owned last night. He didn't crush the road or anything, but he did get 20 fantasy points and actually played him because I was actually going to play Marvin Williams, but I had the 300 salary. So I was like, let's play some Bonga. And the name's fun. The name's a lot more fun anyway. So I went with him, and he was fine. He's been playing well for his price tag. He's not exciting or anything, but like I said, for his salary, right around 20 points each game the past 2 games, and he's averaging about 0.8 points per minute. I'll take it. I have him for around 21 to 24 minutes, which would give him a projection of around 20 points, which I will take at 3,700. He's not a big scorer, but he's a nice peripheral stats kind of guy, which keeps him afloat and gives him some upside as well. So Isaac Bonga, don't love him, but don't hate him either, and I think he's fine as a salary saver. So Isaac Bonga, we'll plug him in, and then I'm going to leave it at that. Anyway, guys, if this video was helpful, remember to leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPinell16. And if you're interested in the spreadsheet and my Slack chat and the cheat sheet I make every single night, links available in the description below for my Patreon. I will see you guys in the next video, and I want to wish you guys the best of luck and have a great weekend.